I already did it, she said. Not I'm thinking about it. Not would you be okay with? Nope. Just I already did it. Then she took a bite of her bagel like we were talking about dry cleaning. My fiancée, Edalyn, had just told me, over brunch, mind you, that she'd slept with her ex last night. You what? I asked, barely keeping the bile from creeping up my throat. It was just one night, she shrugged. One last fling before we tie the knot. No big deal. She even had the nerve to say her mom told her it was normal. Cold feet and old flames, that's what she called it. Normal? We had just finished writing our vows 3 days ago. I cried writing mine. She critiqued hers like she was editing a blog post. But I thought she was just detail-oriented. Not evil. My ring was still on her finger. Her makeup from the night before wasn't even fully wiped off. And I was sitting across from her like an idiot, holding a napkin that said, "Forever starts soon," from the wedding venue tasting we'd been to last weekend. You're not angry? She asked after a few seconds of my silence, dabbing the corner of her mouth with a cloth napkin. I thought you'd flip out. I was flipping out. Inside, I was collapsing. But outside, I just nodded slowly. 24 hours, I whispered. She tilted her head. What? I stood up. Give me 24 hours. For what? To show you how no big a deal this really is. I walked out of that brunch spot in absolute silence, deleted our shared calendar, turned off my phone, and drove straight to the place I swore I'd never go again, my hometown, where I knew exactly who'd help me end this engagement the loudest way possible. When I turned my phone back on the next morning, it lit up with 100 missed calls from Edalyn. She must have figured it out. My payback had landed. And the best part? It hadn't even started yet. I didn't drive to my hometown because I missed it. I left that place the second I turned 18 and promised myself I'd never go back, mostly because everyone there knew every embarrassing detail of my life. They remembered me as the kid who cried when he struck out at Little League, the teenager who got dumped at prom via voicemail, the guy who always forgave too fast, apologized too much, and stayed in relationships long after they'd curdled. But maybe that was exactly why I did go back. I needed the version of me I used to hate, the soft, eager-to-please pushover, to finally die so I could deal with what Edalyn did without collapsing into a puddle on her shoes. When I pulled into town, the coffee shop still had the same broken neon sign, and the hardware store still displayed the rusted bicycle hanging on a chain. Everything looked like it had stayed perfectly still since the day I ran off, like the town froze just to spite me. And I guess in a weird way, it was comforting. Because if there was one person who'd always tried to toughen me up, one person who warned me that women like Edalyn didn't want a partner, they wanted an emotional sponge to squeeze until it had nothing left, it was my older cousin Maddox. I found him exactly where I expected, behind the old auto shop, elbow deep in an engine, music loud enough to crack the pavement. When he saw me, he didn't hug me, didn't smile. He just wiped his hands on a rag, squinted, and said, "Who broke you this time?" And that was all it took. I spilled everything. The brunch confession, the smirk, the no big deal. The part where she literally claimed my own mother approved of her sleeping with her ex. Maddox whistled low, shook his head, and said, "Man, you are cursed with a type." Then he grabbed a folding chair, set it down, and told me to sit because he knew I was about to cry. And I did. Hard. Ugly. Loud. I think at one point I apologized to a stray cat for sobbing too close to it. When I finally stopped hiccuping, Maddox said, "So what's your plan? You came here for a reason." And for once, I didn't feel small when I answered. She asked for 24 hours. I'm giving her 24 hours. I want her to feel what it's like to lose something without realizing she already lost it. He nodded slowly, like he approved, but also pitted me a little. And then he asked the question that changed everything. Do you want revenge, or do you want out? I froze because I hadn't let myself think about that. Part of me still clung to the fantasy that she'd apologize, cry, swear she loved me. But Maddox leaned in and said, "You don't get both. Pick one." And somewhere between the grease-stained pavement and the ache in my chest, I realized revenge wasn't the point. Closure was. Real closure. Not the kind she claimed she needed with her ex. The kind that seals a door permanently shut. We spent the next several hours planning. Not something cruel. Not something that would break YouTube rules or get anyone hurt. No, something unshakable. Something that would make her see me not as the whiny, bendable Nolan she thought she could walk over, but as the man who finally decided he deserved better. Maddox kept saying, You're not destroying her. You're freeing yourself. Big difference. By sunset, we had a plan that was simple, clean, and irreversible. The kind of plan that, once set in motion, didn't allow for second thoughts. That night, I slept on Maddox's beat-up couch while my phone buzzed nonstop in my jacket pocket. I didn't look at a single notification. I didn't need to. I wanted her to feel the silence pressing in for once. But in the morning, the silence was gone. My phone was lit up like a lighthouse in a storm. 100 missed calls, 47 texts, 12 voicemails, and the first message on the lock screen made my stomach drop. Nolan, something's wrong. Please answer. Please. But I didn't. Not yet. Because the next steps were already in motion, and turning back wasn't an option anymore. I didn't check the messages right away. I just sat there in Maddox's garage, watching dust float in the sunlight like it had more direction in life than I did. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. From control. Pure, sharp-edged control. For once, I had it. And I wasn't going to waste it crying into a voicemail or texting, "We need to talk." That version of me had died the second she said, "It's no big deal." Maddox slid a cup of gas station coffee in front of me. "You ready?" I nodded. We didn't need to say much more. The plan wasn't about humiliation. It was about liberation. My freedom. And maybe hers too, in a way. Because if she wanted one last fling so badly, then she shouldn't be begging for my attention now. But here she was, blowing up my phone like I was the one who betrayed her. We started with the venue. I'd booked the place under my name. Paid the deposit with my card. She never even noticed. She was too busy posting mood boards and arguing over charger plates to realize I handled every real piece of paperwork. I made one call. One. And the date vanished. Just like that. Our ceremony was officially erased from the calendar. Then came the registry. I logged in and deleted every item. All those luxury pots and picture frames she forced me to scan at the department store, gone. We didn't need a life together anymore. And her friends? The ones who always whispered to her that I was too soft, too boring, too clingy? They'd know by the end of the day because I sent out a polite, professional cancellation notice to every single invitee with one sentence. The groom has withdrawn from the ceremony due to a personal boundary being crossed. That's it. No drama. No accusations. Just enough to make everyone curious. The silence would eat her alive. By noon, the real chaos started. My phone was buzzing nonstop again, but this time the names were different. Her best friend Kendra, her cousin Lyle, her coworker Trina, all calling, all texting, trying to piece together the wreckage she'd caused. I ignored them all, but then came the call I didn't expect. My mom. I almost didn't answer. I was afraid of what she might say. Afraid she'd confirm what Edalyn told me, that she actually said this kind of cheating was normal. But I picked up, and the second I heard her voice, I knew I'd been played. "Nolan, what's going on? Why is Edalyn saying I told her to do something insane before your wedding? She said I gave her permission for what exactly?" I told her everything, and the pause that followed on the line was longer than I was ready for. Then came the fury. "She used me as a cover? She told you I encouraged her to cheat on you?" My mom's voice cracked. "Nolan, honey, I told her months ago that if she didn't respect your heart, she didn't deserve your future." I felt my throat tighten. I'd been clinging to this tiny hope that maybe Edalyn wasn't a villain. Maybe it was just a misunderstanding, a misstep, a moment of panic. But no, she lied. She weaponized my own mother's name to justify sleeping with someone else. And somehow, even after all that, she still wanted to fix it. Because 2 minutes later, her name lit up my screen again, followed by a new message. "Please don't do anything crazy. We can talk. We can move past this. I didn't mean to hurt you." Oh, she meant it. She just didn't expect consequences. She expected tears, yelling, maybe a temporary silence followed by forgiveness. Instead, I was quiet, calculating, steady. I texted back just 4 words. "Ask Finley what I know." And I swear, in that moment, I could feel the blood drain from her face, even from 200 miles away. Because I hadn't told her yet. But Finley told me everything. And now? So would everyone else. I didn't mean to contact Finley. Honestly, the idea of talking to the man who slept with my fiancée, even if they had history, made my skin crawl. But curiosity can be a dangerous thing. After her one last fling confession, I stared at his social media for hours, picking apart every photo, every tag, every smug grin. And then I did something I didn't plan. I messaged him. I expected silence. Or maybe a block. What I didn't expect was a reply 5 minutes later that read, "Can we talk? There's stuff you don't know." So I gave him my burner number. I wasn't about to have his name showing up on my call log if this turned into something I regretted. When he called, his voice was low, cautious, like he was talking to a detective, not a groom-to-be. "I didn't know you two were still together," Finley said immediately. "She told me you were on a break. She said the wedding was off." "She lied," I said, barely holding it together. "She left our apartment wearing the ring. I was picking out our song while she was with you." He went quiet. Then he sighed. "Look, I didn't come here to defend myself. I think you deserve to know this wasn't the first time." My whole body went cold. "What do you mean?" "I mean this wasn't some impulsive last-minute thing. It's been going on for months." He told me they'd been messaging since January, that she reached out to him first, that she said she needed emotional clarity before settling down, that she told him I was too needy, too sensitive, that I guilt-tripped her every time she went out. He even said she called me a backup husband. Those were her words. Backup husband. I don't know how long I sat there in Maddox's garage, phone to my ear, listening to the pieces of my relationship collapse in real time. Finley, to his credit, didn't try to paint himself as a hero. He didn't say he loved her. He didn't even sound proud. If anything, he sounded ashamed. Or maybe just tired. She said I was just the last chapter, that she had to close it before she could move forward with you, he said. But then she started talking about keeping both. That's when I knew. This wasn't about closure. It wasn't about fear or wedding jitters. It was about control. She wanted to keep me around for stability, for the show, for the ring and the photo ops and the future that looked good on paper. But Finley? He was her chaos, her fantasy, her backup exit. She thought she was the only one holding the cards. That's when I decided to flip the table instead. I asked Finley for proof. Screenshots, call logs, voicemails. He hesitated, but I told him this wasn't for revenge. It was for clarity. For me. For the people she'd manipulated. For everyone who thought we were some love story wrapped in Pinterest boards and engagement shoots. I needed the truth documented. And he gave it to me. Everything. The messages. The late-night voice memos. The hotel booking receipts with her name on them. The next morning, I forwarded 3 of the screenshots to her bridesmaid, her sister, and her boss. The same 3 people who were helping plan the wedding. No commentary. No caption. Just the truth. A digital wrecking ball aimed right at the carefully curated fairy tale she'd spent the last year constructing. It took less than an hour before my phone lit up again. This time, it wasn't her. It was her sister. "Nolan, what the hell? She's here sobbing, saying you're ruining her life. She didn't think you'd actually leave." Didn't think I'd leave? Of course not. I was the doormat. The emotional pillow. The guy who stayed. I was always supposed to swallow it and smile. But not anymore. I told her sister to look at the timestamps on the messages. To really look. She went quiet. Then she whispered. She said it was one time. It wasn't, I said. And it wasn't a mistake either. It was a choice. Repeatedly. That's when I heard yelling in the background. Edalyn, screaming my name like I was the villain in her twisted love story. And in that moment, I realized the scariest part wasn't what she did. It was that she never once thought I'd walk away. She thought I'd fight for her. She never expected silence. And that silence? It was just getting started. I didn't storm into our apartment. I didn't pack bags or throw clothes out the window. I didn't go full drama the way some guys on Reddit might. That's not me. She expected rage. She expected a scene. What she didn't expect, what really messed with her head, was my calm. I unlocked the front door like any other day, stepped inside, and smelled her favorite lavender candle still burning. The one she always said helped her de-stress. I walked straight to the bedroom. Everything was still exactly where she left it. Her half-packed honeymoon suitcase, the garter belt she jokingly waved at me 2 nights ago, the crumpled checklist with the words "Final Fittings" underlined 3 times. The only thing missing was meaning. I took off my ring. Not in anger. Not in sadness. Just deliberately. Like removing a costume I'd been wearing for someone else's performance. I placed it on her pillow. Not in the box. Not hidden away. Right there. Centered. Visible. Undeniable. Then I walked into the bathroom, opened the mirror cabinet, and pulled out the printed list we kept taped inside. Our shared promises. It was something we wrote together during premarital counseling. Each promise handwritten, numbered, signed. Hers were flowery. Mine were desperate. I pulled the list down slowly and folded it in half. Then again. Then I dropped it into the toilet and flushed. That was all. No yelling. No notes. No post-it with some passive-aggressive quote. Just silence. And symbols. And then I walked out. I didn't go far. I didn't need to. I knew her routine too well. I knew she'd be back in 20 minutes. Once she finished her spineless little apology toward her sister and tried to do damage control. And when she came through the door, I'd be gone. But the ring would still be there. Because I wanted her to see it, not hear about it, not guess, see it. And she did. 3 missed calls. Then 7. Then 10. I didn't answer. I didn't even read the full texts. Just saw the first lines pop up one after the other. Please just come back and talk to me. We can explain this to people. You don't have to ruin everything. You're being childish. You're scaring me now. Nolan, I swear it wasn't what you think. But it was. It was exactly what I thought. Because I didn't just have messages and receipts now. I had something more dangerous than evidence. I had clarity. And her panic? That was finally louder than my pain. It didn't take long. That same evening, just past sunset, I got a text from Maddox. She's here. He attached a photo. She was standing outside his garage in heels, holding her phone like it was a bomb about to explode in her hand. Her hair was pulled back the way she only did when she was trying to look composed. But even through the blurry image, I could see it. Her composure was long gone. I was watching from 2 streets over, parked in Maddox's truck. I told him not to let her inside. He didn't. She stood in the driveway, pacing, for maybe 15 minutes. Then she started knocking. Then shouting, "Nolan, please. I'm not leaving until I see you." She had no idea I was watching from the shadows, just like she had no idea what was coming next. I'd scheduled an email blast for that exact hour, 7 p.m. on the dot. It went out to every guest on our wedding list. Her friends, her family, her coworkers, even her Pilates instructor, whom she once swore had no idea about her personal life. It wasn't a dramatic message. I didn't attach photos or go full scorched earth. It was calm, formal, almost cold. Due to repeated acts of dishonesty and ongoing infidelity, I am calling off our wedding. I understand this news may come as a shock, but I believe everyone deserves to enter a marriage built on mutual trust and respect. I wish Edelyn well in her future relationships. Please consider this notice final. Nolan, no drama, no name calling, but it cut deeper than any insult could have, because now she couldn't spin it. She couldn't lie. She couldn't say things just didn't work out. Everyone knew. And then my phone rang again. It wasn't her this time. It was her mother. I hesitated before answering. Part of me expected her to yell, blame me, defend her daughter. But she didn't. Instead, she sighed and said, "I told her. I warned her you were the best thing she'd ever get. I just didn't think she'd burn it all down this fast." I didn't know how to respond to that. "She's a mess right now," her mom continued. "She's crying, screaming, saying you're humiliating her." "I'm not," I said quietly. "She did that to herself." There was a pause. "I know," her mom whispered. And then she hung up. At that point, I walked away from the truck and toward the edge of the street where I could finally see her clearly. She hadn't seen me yet. She was still on the phone, probably trying to call me again. Her voice cracked. She was begging. And for a second, I froze. Some part of me, that old, broken part that used to flinch at every raised voice and apologize just to stop the tension, almost stepped forward, almost gave her a chance to explain. But then I remembered the night she came home humming after sleeping with another man. The way she said, "It's no big deal," while I stared at her like a ghost. So instead, I turned my back, walked the opposite direction, and left her there, surrounded by her own wreckage, still calling the name of a man she thought would never leave. The next morning, I thought it would all be quiet. I expected her to disappear for a while, lick her wounds, maybe run back to Finley or hide behind her friends until the shame wore off. But instead, I woke up to a delivery. Not a message, not a knock, a literal delivery. A black box on Maddox's porch with my name written in gold. Inside was the ring I gave her, sparkling, polished, placed in the original velvet box I'd proposed with. Beneath it was a note. Just 6 words. "Meet me where we began. Please." I didn't need to ask. I knew exactly where she meant. The hill behind her old college, where I first told her I loved her. The spot she once called our forever place. I hadn't been there in over a year. But of course she picked it. She always knew how to twist the knife just right. Always knew how to weaponize nostalgia. Maddox told me not to go. She's not trying to fix anything, he warned. She's trying to pull you back in. But I went anyway. Not for her. For me. When I got there, she was already sitting on the bench beneath that crooked oak tree, wearing the same white jacket she wore the first time I kissed her. It was buttoned all the way to her throat, like she was trying to look pure. Innocent. She stood the second she saw me. Her eyes were red, her mascara smudged, but I'd seen her cry before. This wasn't regret. This was panic. Nolan, she started, stepping toward me. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But I need you to hear me. Please. Just hear me. I didn't say anything. I just stared. She kept going. It wasn't serious with Finley. It wasn't emotional. I didn't feel anything with him. I was scared. That's all it was. Cold feet. I finally spoke. And the months of messages? The hotel stays? The lies? That all fall under cold feet too. She froze, realizing I wasn't here to negotiate. Then she tried the oldest trick in the book. I'm pregnant. Just like that. 2 words. Dropped like a nuke. I don't remember if I blinked. I just stared at her and said the only thing that came to mind. Is it mine? Her face twitched. Just for a second. Not long. But I saw it. That hesitation. That half-second pause. It told me everything. You don't know, do you? I said, my voice flat. You're not even sure. She started crying again. Harder this time. It doesn't matter. I want it to be yours. I want you. I stepped back. No. You want the version of me that kept quiet while you made excuses. The one who held the relationship together while you tested its limits. You don't want me. You want control. She collapsed onto the bench, sobbing, saying she'd change, saying she'd do therapy, saying she'd delete her social media, leave the city, whatever it took. And maybe a part of me should have felt something. But all I felt was nothing. That same kind of clean emptiness I felt the moment I placed the ring on her pillow. She wanted one last night with her past before marrying me. Fine. Now she could keep her past. Because her future? It wouldn't include me. She didn't follow me when I walked away from that hill. I think she knew, really knew, it was done. No more calls. No more apologies. No more guilt tripping me into staying. That chapter was sealed. For good. And I didn't look back. I drove straight to Maddox's garage, packed up the last of my stuff, and hit the road that afternoon with no destination in mind. Just the need to move. To feel distance grow between me and everything she'd twisted me into believing was love. For a few weeks, I lived quiet. Crashed on couches. Deleted old playlists. Cleaned my phone of every trace of her voice, her smile, her future that never actually included me. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't cinematic. Healing rarely is. But then, little by little, things started to shift. I stopped waking up expecting an apology that never came. I started eating again without thinking about the wedding diet I was on. I opened a notebook I hadn't touched in a year and started writing again. Not vows, not speeches, me. I even reconnected with a former colleague who'd moved to Denver and mentioned their company needed someone with my exact skill set. It was a long shot, but I applied. 2 Zoom interviews and 1 awkward test assignment later, I was hired. Packed my things and moved to a new city where no one knew me as Edelyn's fiancé. I got to start over as just Nolan. And the best part? I didn't carry her ghost with me. The closure didn't come from revenge or exposing her lies. It came from walking away, from choosing peace over chaos, truth over performance. A few months later, I was sitting in a small bookstore cafe near my new apartment when I met someone. No dating apps, no forced smiles. Just 2 people reaching for the same book at the same time. Her name was Unia. She made fun of the title I picked. I made fun of her coffee order. It was normal. Real. We didn't talk about exes. We didn't talk about drama. We just talked. And for once, I didn't feel like I had to earn love by bleeding for it. I don't know what the future holds, and that's okay. What I do know is this. I gave my heart to someone who didn't deserve it, but instead of letting it destroy me, I used it to rebuild the life she never saw value in. Edelyn taught me what betrayal looks like, but walking away from her, that taught me what freedom feels like. And that was the beginning of everything good.